If you're a guy over 30, I get it. No matter what you try, that stubborn belly fat just won't budge. I've been there, and after losing 80 pounds myself and training guys just like you for over a decade, all my clients struggle with the same three problems that really only popped up in the last few years. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what those problems are and the new strategies I use with my clients to help you lose your first 50 pounds. So this first point is the number one reason that I think we struggle with our weight in the first place. And if you're armed against it, if you're prepared for this, it gets so much easier. So a lot of people think that it's junk food that's making us fat, but I really think it's more dense food. And I'm going to explain what that means first with this analogy. So high volume TV, it can be very overwhelming at first. You know, if you've ever been, for me, whenever I was younger, it was my dad that always had the TV on, every single TV, and it was very, very high volume because he couldn't hear it. And eventually you just get used to it. Even though it's impossible to avoid, your brain just gets used to it. This is called sensory adaptation. And this is a good thing. You know, you can read the definition on the screen, but it lowers your sensitivity to a sensation. I mean, if you went over to a friend's house and every time their clock ticked, it hurt your ears, it wouldn't take you very long to go crazy. And so your body adapts to that and removes the bothersome stimulus. And so eventually you get used to it. And we get used to super calorie dense foods. This might not seem like maybe it seems so obvious that it doesn't seem helpful, but an easy example that is sabotaging your fat loss is restaurant inaccuracy. A lot of people don't know, at least with the clients that I work with, they don't know how inaccurate some restaurants can be. Now, this was just a couple of studies that I looked into. This was some of the worst studies. There were ones that were a little bit, less detrimental, but the higher inaccurate logged items at restaurants in this study were healthy items. So anything labeled as, a health food, whatever that may be to those restaurants. But right here, you'll see in one instance, a side dish listed at 450 calories was found to have over 1,000 extra calories. Now, that's ridiculous. That almost never would happen. But I saw a study way back whenever I was in college. And so I just go with this number, and this is how I handle this, that on average, restaurants are off by about 20%. And so I make sure to, whenever my clients go out to eat out or whatever, and if it depends on how much you eat out, but if you're eating out a lot, add zero point 0.2 to your food log. So log 1.2 burgers, which makes no sense, obviously. But if you're having a burger and you log 1.2 burgers, that's probably closer to the accurate calories. And a lot of times, and I wrote it down here. And I did want to mention this real quick. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration allows 20% margin of error for calorie counts on nutrition labels. That means a 500 calorie dish can be anywhere from 400 to 600 calories. And this makes sense. You just can't expect perfection on these food labels. And so they give a 20% margin. And so we can instead of saying I'm a victim to this, I can't keep track of my calories, screw it, I'm never going to lose weight. We can empower ourselves. And I promise this isn't a big deal once you understand how to overcome it. I'm going to give you the solutions down here. Oh, we're right here. All right. So solutions: high protein and high fiber. So if this is a satiety index, this is how satiating something is, how satisfied you are from eating that food. Protein and fiber, that says FIB, protein and fiber are going to be at the very top. Fat is going to be at the very bottom. This is easily explainable, or, it's pretty easy to notice that you can overeat on peanut butter very easily, while it's hard to overeat on chicken breast, steak, a bunch of spinach or something like that. So those foods go way up there. Fat, easy to overeat on. Carbs are usually in the middle, but closer to the fat. What is interesting is that potatoes actually have a higher satiety index than a lot of protein foods. So combining potatoes with protein seems to be a really good option. And I wanted to show you, in case you wanted to make this a little bit easier on yourself, this is a small cookbook I put together. Over the years, I do plan on expanding this, but these are very high protein foods. This is totally free, link in the description. And it gives you serving sizes based off grams. So if you have a food scale, you don't have to wonder how much, how many cups, all that stuff. It tells you how many servings this makes. Down here, there's 5 servings, but here's all the ingredients, and you can be a little bit off on the protein because I usually use like a family pack of protein. But calories, carbs, fats, protein, and these things are absolutely delicious. I'll just show you all the pictures of them. So these are AI generated pictures, but white chicken chili, classic chili, cheesy Mexican. This is my favorite, the cheesy Mexican protein rice. We got a healthier buffalo dip over here. This turkey stroganoff, and these are regular noodles. Those aren't special protein noodles or special zucchini noodles or something. That's just the amount of protein that's added there, and then the low fat dairy that's used to make a lot of the sauces is what makes those delicious and high protein, and just a lot of volume taken up, high on that index like I was just talking about. Okay, so that was one of the solutions. One thing I wanted to talk about was GLP-1. So this is stuff like Ozempic and Wegovy and all that. I'm actually pretty excited about these. A lot of people think that, like people are cheating or whatever. And I mean, I guess if that's how you want to feel about it, I'm very excited because my mission is to help eliminate obesity. I grew up obese and I want to help people feel comfortable in their own skin again. And so I'm very excited about these when they're used properly. This is a solution. It is shockingly cheap now for Gen 1 stuff, such as Ozempic. And then I guess Wegovy counts as Gen 2, but that's still a GLP-1. And so I don't really get like the new Trizepatide and Retatrutide or whatever it's called. But as those come out, kind of like new iPhones, the other stuff gets cheaper and that stuff is still very, very effective. So look into it, ask your doctor. This is an option. If you do this though, you really need to be lifting. Number one, the most important thing is lifting so you don't lose muscle, and then eating high protein and making sure to eat a healthy diet. You got to have the habits in place. It's not just like you will literally just shrink and then you'll be skinny fat by the end of it if you don't do those things. So make sure you're doing that. All right, next solution here is going to be meal prep. Imagine a fridge that looked like this. Okay, I'm so glad that AI was able to make this photo for me. Imagine a fridge that looked like this with recipes from my cookbook or whatever, whatever you do. You can go in there and you can pull out food. How much less likely are you on your way home to get something that you regret getting or that is off plan if you know you have delicious food in the fridge waiting for you? This is something that is just so powerful. And these recipes here are meal prep size recipes. These don't make 4 servings for your family that night. A lot of times, I mean, the one that I showed you earlier, ironically only made 5 servings, but a lot of times they'll make 9 to 11 servings. And so it's for the week. It is a meal prep cookbook. And so anyways, meal prepping is a huge defense against that. Now, out to eat to go-to orders. So these are I might have only put 3 places in here, but I have 4 go-to places. Try to remember the last one if I get there. But Chick-fil-A, 12 chicken nuggets, macaroni and cheese. That is going to have around 450 calories and 50 grams of protein. And so that is a great way of getting enough protein while you're out and about. I should show you this real quick. You know that something is a good protein source if, let's say, like I said, it had 450 calories. If you remove that last number, oops, how many grams of protein does it have left? If it's above those 2 numbers, then you're good to go. So if that thing has 50 grams of protein, then you're good to go. Now, I was just saying that restaurants don't have accurate calories, and that's true, but it's going to be close-ish, and that's how we do it. Whenever you're eating off of the meals that I just described and I'm about to describe, eating out, I wouldn't do the 1.2 rule because that's the point, is you're choosing healthier things, so you're kind of not having to worry about that so much. Okay, my next go-to is Chipotle. You probably knew that was going to be on the list. Burrito bowl with no rice or half rice, and that is the key. And if you're like, dude, but the rice, man, it's all about the rice. That's kind of the point. Is it makes it a very high calorie meal, and a lot of it is like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with rice, but it's just too high of calorie. If you have a 900 calorie bowl, but by removing the rice or doing half rice, you're looking somewhere around 600, 450, I think, without any rice calories, and you're going to be getting that 10% protein rule. So that is a great option. My mouth's watering thinking about that. And then Subway or any sub places, because a lot of them have like a sub and a tub type thing where you're basically removing the bread. And again, there's nothing wrong with bread. It's just we're making up for the fact that we're eating out by getting basically high protein and high fiber. So a lot of meat and a lot of veggies. And that's what makes this something that you can sustain. Oh, I did add the 4th one. Panda Express, they are an easy go-to because they have all their protein options, all their veggies, and I do any sauce. I just log these and then I try to find, like, let's say you put teriyaki on there. I'll just log teriyaki and just pick something that feels right. This is more of a guess, but still, because it's protein and veggies only, you're not getting anything else with it. I know you can get beef and broccoli. I know you can get, stir fry veggies and chicken, whatever. You just combine the things and any sauce you want on there. This is going to be a great meal. I think this is going to be the highest protein, most filling meal. So this next thing, everyone messes up every weight loss attempt. But once you know this, you're actually going to be able to stick to your plan. And that's the key to losing the weight this time. And that is going to be dopamine hits. Now, dopamine has become more popular and more talked about because of just our addiction to cell phones and stuff. And that really does play a role here. And I think it's important to arm yourself against it. Okay, so I wanted to show this to you like for a drawing. I'm not good at using these markers yet. Okay, so these are some horrible buckets, but our goal here is that your bucket is almost completely full. That is our body's goal. It wants to fill this bucket. But our buckets, unfortunately, almost always look like this, where they're down here, maybe even lower than I'm drawing there, because it's constantly leaking out the bottom. These are going to be things like scrolling on your phone, sugar, notifications and social media, ordering something on Amazon and coming in quick. It's quick dopamine hits. And the thing is that quick dopamine hits never really fill the bucket. The bucket gets full when you do things that are slower, that don't leak, because the spike is so big and then so it crashes so hard with things like this that you never can get enough spikes to fill the bucket. That's kind of the point. So I wanted to show you using this graphic a little bit, where quick dopamine hits followed by a crash. That's why the bucket will never fill, because you're crashing. But whenever something doesn't give you a quick hit, it never really crashes and it builds on itself through time. This is things like lifting and changing your body. This is things like building a skill. It could even be, learning a language or whatever, but things that make you a better person, that make you more capable and give you more skills. Those things are going to raise and continue to compound, filling the bucket, eventually overflowing. I know that's kind of corny to say, but it's because you get actually higher than you feel so good whenever your body looks amazing, that dopamine, that constant level of satisfaction, is higher than the quick dopamine hits you're getting from your phone. So the main culprits here are social media, instant gratification things that we already went over. But I also want to pick on a little bit diet quick fixes, specifically keto. I think a lot of people go on keto not because they like the idea of only eating meat and cheese and stuff like that, but because some people do and they do well on the diet, but because they want something that's fast. And keto is fast, but that instant gratification isn't what we're looking for here. But paleo and everything, in between, that's what diets are. And I coach my clients to not diet. I coach my clients to control their calories and control their food choices. And so, fasting client story. I wanted to tell you about a client that used fasting as a way of making up for mistakes and getting quick wins on the scale. And it just didn't work out for her until she changed her style. She would do steak only fasts. And I mean, I don't know if that's even a legitimate thing, but she would, eat only literally two steaks, and I think there are 4 ounces a piece. So I don't know how many calories that was. It wasn't very many calories for the day. It'd probably be somewhere around 800 calories, maybe less. And then the next day she would, step on the scale and eureka. And I just couldn't get through to her, at least for the longest time, that was just a quick, false win. That wasn't going to stay there. But I hear this all the time. If that seems obvious to you and you're like, well, of course that isn't real, then I mean, but most people don't know that. So this is the best piece of advice around this topic, and it is that this takes time. If you are set that you are going to do this for the long haul, you are set, you're going to be here and do this. You're going to commit to this for 2, 3, 4 years, changing your life, and then we're going to commit to maintaining that. You are going to be already miles ahead. Now, it won't take you 2, 3, 4 years, but get that in your head that you want to take time with this. It's going to, especially the last 10 pounds or so, it's going to be slow, but you're going to make such progress. You're going to have so much fun along the way. So this is something that takes a long time. Okay. So some solutions to this are delaying your gratification. Now, I know I just talked about fasting, but fasting for the purpose of building discipline is a way of making yourself a little bit better. I do it for religious purposes. And so if you are Christian and you want to fast, I know other religions have fasting practices, but for me specifically, fasting to God is something that I do. And so that gives me dopamine well beyond like a quick dopamine spike. I'm not looking for the result of the fast. I'm looking for the discipline built during the fast. I do 36-hour fasts, and that's just where I like to be. That's like once or twice a week at most. Being bored, allowing yourself to actually be bored, I find is something that is terribly hard at first. Social media fasts are so awesome. You will find that you just have this phantom thumb that just keeps on wanting to take out your phone. So delete that for a week. It'll be amazing. And then working out with no expectation of return, knowing that today's workout isn't going to do anything. It is the constant commitment to your workout plan that's going to make such a difference. So the next one addresses the problem where you have to eat less and less and less in order to lose weight. And those end up failing every single time. So we're going to avoid that right off the bat here. And that is that it is harder to move. Naturally, our environments today do not give us very good options of movement. If you're armed against it, if you're ready for it, then, it's pretty easy. And that's what we're going to be talking about. But our natural environment doesn't lend us to that. So this is a quick little graphic I drew up between desk jobs and convenience and things like, obviously cars. I'm not saying not to drive cars, but cars, online shopping, elevators. I have a funny airport walking thing. At least I find it funny. You probably won't care. But remote work, tech jobs or because of tech, and I shouldn't say tech jobs, but because of tech, the amount that we sit down. I'm on a standing desk right now, and I'm not walking. I'm on a treadmill desk. I'm not walking on it, but that's something. But in the middle is the problem between desk jobs. If you have a desk job and you have the convenience of what the world is giving you, it's difficult for you. So I had a client that I got sick one day. I got the flu, and she routinely got like 3,000 tops steps, and I would just wonder to myself, like, man, what was she doing? I mean, some days she would get 1,200 steps. I'm like, did she literally just like watch TV? I didn't know how to get that low of steps. I routinely get 14,000, 16, 17,000. Now I have a very active job. I'm a personal trainer and I still work at a gym. But anyways, it just always struck me as curious. And I got the flu one day, and I still wore my step tracker, and just eating and going to the bathroom, the limited eating that I could do and going to the bathroom, I had a massive fever. For that day, I was pushing 3,000 steps. So I got more steps than her, even though I had the flu. And so it's just like, be aware of your steps. I find these airport walking belts really, really funny. Um, I think the purpose of them, you can tell me in the comments what, if you know, I think the purpose of them is to get you to your destination faster. If you're walking on them and the belt is going, they're just flat belts. And they're really wide. You feel like you're just going so quick. I think it's to help people get to their destination faster. Most people use it by just getting on their phone. They don't do anything with it. So I find it very interesting that that people just stand there and they don't even walk anymore. And so again, our environment lends us to not being able to do this very well, to move more. So set a step goal. So the solutions to not being, just not having a bunch of movement are going to be a step goal and a walking pad and things like cardio. You know the drill, parking towards the back of the parking lot, things like that. Now, those might seem like obvious answers, but the new thing here, the thing that I'm going to challenge you with, is actually make this a priority. Park in the back of the parking lot. It is so nice. Most of the time, you're going to be passing up the person waiting for that front row spot anyway. It almost makes you feel a little bit superior, you know? Start taking the stairs intentionally, if possible. If your knees hurt, then maybe take the elevator, but take the stairs on the way down. Start being intentional with how much you are walking. And if every single day you commit to, I'm going to walk no matter what for 10 minutes, you're going to get a normal step, amount, like an average step amount for yourself. And then extend that to 15 minutes. You can give yourself 15 minutes a day. Okay. This has to be for you. If you're serious about losing weight, you got to take the next step, pun accidentally intended, I guess. Not intended. I don't know. But you got to take the next step and you got to commit. Now, if you're serious about this, you're probably wondering how long this is going to take. I have a video about that right here. And if you're armed for how long it will take, if you're armed for not quitting, you're not going to quit. You will succeed. I promise you. And this video helps you with that.